Have you ever had one of those days where you just feel blah? You're in a mood, maybe it's an attitude, and you don't quite know what's going on, but you just know that you're not feeling it? Well, I have too, and I think we can all relate to that. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to navigate those circumstances in a lesson that I call Circle of Influence. What do I mean by circle of influence? I mean controlling the controllable. So often in life, it's easy for the outside things to let come into our inner world. And when our inner world's infected by the outer world, that's when we're in a world of trouble. And not only ourselves, but the people around us. And so in this lesson today, I'm going to teach you all about the circle of influence. And you can do this at your home, or you can follow me along here. But we have here the circle of influence. Now, what do I mean by circle of influence? There's things within your control and there's things outside of your control. In the Bible, I believe it says something along the lines of asking for the wisdom to know what's in our control and what's out of our control. And wisdom written on paper gives us a clear view of what actually is in our influence and what's out of our influence. And you'll see very soon that there's a lot more in your control than you actually are giving yourself credit for. So here we are, the circle of influence. And so in the middle circle here, think about it as like a fried egg. In the middle is like the yolk, and then the outer circle here is all the things outside of your control. Here is what we can control. I'll put a heart here. This is where we are, our heart center. What can we control on a day-to-day basis? Well, we can control what we eat. And if we know that food is fuel, then we will make decisions in accordance to what our bodies actually need. But oftentimes what happens is when you're not eating healthy, it causes your energy to go down. And then all of a sudden you realize that this mood that you're in is because you had a rough weekend where you didn't eat the foods that you know that your body needed. And now you're feeling bad, guilt, shame. And then what happens when you're flowing at those frequencies? Well, you feel even worse. And then how do you treat your kids? How do you treat your spouse? Even worse. And it's a perpetual cycle of downward spiral. But with this, you can actually look and see what's in your control to make a new decision today to turn yourself around and to a new trajectory of a more useful, productive future. So here we are. What we eat. What else can we control? Well, to some extent, we can control how we move. And if we know that movement is medicine, wouldn't we just want to move? Simple, right? Sometimes common sense isn't common practice, and that's why I'm here to break this down for you guys. What else can you control? You can control, to an extent, your environment. Setting your environment up for success. What does that look like? You know, having things in your environment that feed and foster. This includes people that feed and foster your growth. You can also control what you think. To a large extent, what you think. So thinking positive thoughts, being kind to yourself, talking to yourself like you would your best friend, those are all going to help navigate what you can control in a not only internal, but external. Now, when you're eating healthy, when you're moving right, when you're thinking positive thoughts, and when your environment's in check, what do you think is going to happen there? Your energy that you have put in to yourself positively will now go out and infect those around you. You can mom the way that you want to mom. You can now show up to your community. You can lead the way you want to lead because you're controlling the controllables. What else? What you listen to. What you listen to. Think about this. The songs that we're listening to, the podcast, the environment, the TV, all of that is think about your body. You're just pouring all of those things into you. Would you want to pour positive things, good things into your brain, into your mind, into your subconscious, or would you want to be pouring negative things? These are things within our control. So if you're in a negative mood, check out what are you listening to. Maybe it's just a reframe where you can now listen to a positive podcast, a sermon, an audiobook, something that's going to uplift you. So now we have here, we can also control how we treat others, right? We can choose to show up with love. We can choose to show up with an element of gratitude. We can choose to choose kindness. This just happened now. I was at the grocery store with my husband, and the cashier, he said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I'm exceptional." Even though I was tired, even though I was hungry, even though I felt drained. I said, I'm doing exceptional. How is you? He said, no complaints. And we looked at each other and we both agreed, what is there in complaining? What's the point in complaining? What does it do? What's the point? Like, why are we complaining, right? So I looked at him and I said, I have no complaints whatsoever. And this is just a reminder, no matter what you're going through, you can exacerbate it by the way that you're talking to yourself and others. And so instead of complaining, what can you be grateful for, right? So we can also choose gratitude, right? That's in our circle of influence here, because we can choose gratitude. What does that mean? We can choose to be grateful for the ability to listen to this video right now. We can choose to be grateful for the kids that we have, that we get to take care of, and they've chosen us to take care of them. We can choose to take care of our families. We can choose to take care of our husbands. We can choose to be grateful for the air going in and out of our lungs all day long. We can choose for the ability to be in a nice controlled temperature environment, if this is where you're listening from right now. There's so much to be grateful for. And the cool thing about gratitude is that gratitude multiplies. What does that mean? That means that when you look for one thing to be grateful for, you can look for two things to be grateful for. And when you can find two things to be grateful for, you can find 3 and 4. So we can choose how we're navigating gratitude and how we're choosing to feel it, how we're choosing to express it. Maybe this means telling your loved ones that you're grateful for them. Maybe it's telling yourself that you're grateful for you. I'm grateful for you for showing up and doing the work. So as you can see here, we have a lot that is in our control. It's about controlling the things that we can control and releasing the things that we cannot. Now, in life, there will be circumstances, things that happen that are out of our control. As much as we want to control life and much as we think we're in control, we are not. And the kicker here is that the things that are the things that are outside of our control that infect us and affect us, they're there to teach us things. So it's not about just controlling what you can control in the middle. It's about acceptance of the things that you can't control, but not only acceptance about the things that you can't control, but appreciation for the things that you cannot control, because in every single adversity, there is an equal and proportionate advantage. What does that mean? That means that outside of your control, somebody might flip you off, cuss you out, and that's something that's outside of your control, right? I mean, I guess you could have controlled it because you obviously did something that cascaded that event for them to flip you off and cuss you out. But let's say somebody walks up to you for no reason and they just say, F you, you suck, How are you going to react to that outside stimulus? All right. Response and stimulus. Stimulus, response. There's always a stimulus and then there's a response. Normally, a reaction. What can you do in between that stimulus and response or reaction? Take a pause. Take a pause. What does it mean to take a pause? It means to take a pause, take a deep breath, and release. Now you can look at this situation that's outside of your control with a greater sense of peace, purpose, and poise. And now you can respond to that stimulus, that outside event, with calmness, grace, and space. And pray for the person, wish them well. But instead of reacting, now you are responding to those outside circumstances. What else is something that's outside of our control? Maybe a family member, a loved one gets sick. Maybe it's a terminal illness, something personally that I experienced with my dad. And that's out of your control, right? And all of these things are going on outside of our control, and it is okay to allow and accept them as they are, while realizing that in the midst of all of these things going on outside of your control, you can choose a different frame. You can choose to lead from a place of presence and peace. You can choose how you're going to respond to the things that God puts in your life as lessons to teach us And also from an element of presence to be there for those that need you. Because guess what? If my dad's sick with brain cancer and I'm spiraling out of control, how do you think I'm going to show up to be there for him? How do you think you guys are going to be there to show up for your kids when they get sick? If you aren't controlling the controllables, if you're not eating healthy, if you're not moving your body, if you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to be there to take care of the ones that you love most? It's impossible. It doesn't work. And so now what we can look at is like, okay, these things are coming in, all of these things outside of our control. What are we going to do? How are we going to move forward through this? Another thing that might be out of your control is, let's say a virus enters your body and you get sick. You get sick. Okay, that sucks. I don't know about you guys, but I can clearly remember times that I've been sick, food poisoning, COVID, etc., right? That's out of our control. Yes, we can do all the Lysoling, and yes, we can, speak positive affirmations where no infection enters our body and we stay on this high vibration at all times. The reality is that life's going to hit us. You're going to get sick at some point, and if you don't, that is amazing. But for a lot of us, we are either sick right now or know somebody that's sick in our lives, and a lot of that is out of our control. Let's just admit it. A lot of that is going to be out of our control. However, there are still things, even when you are sick, that you can do within your control to gain a greater vantage point to take care of yourself and others in that situation. Let's say you are sick. Let's say you're sick. What can you do? Hydrate, right? What we eat, how we fuel our body, how we rest, what we're listening to. How many of you guys can agree that when you're feeling sick, you don't want to listen to anything positive? Sick body, sick thoughts, right? And so it's important for us to guard our minds when we're sick, when these things are coming in at us from that are out of our control. Control what you still can control in the midst of those uncomfortable situations, and that'll help you get through it, right? Grow through it, not go through it, but it will help you grow through it. Okay, so as you guys can see, and you can kind of get the point, what this exercise is doing is basically encouraging you to look at your life, look at the struggles of your life, look at the challenges of your life, and ask yourself this: in the midst of what's going on, what is in my control and what is outside of my control? God, give me the strength to control the things, to be a good steward of the things that I can control, to do my due diligence, to not neglect the smallest of disciplines that are within my control, that will then allow us to handle with grace, handle it with greater presence, the things that are outside of our control, which are coming in at us at all times, all day, and be prepared to be a better leader, a better mother, a better contributor to society when we understand these things and when we look at it. So an exercise for you today to do is to take out a piece of paper, draw your circle of inner influence, draw your circle of outer influence, and realize that the things in the outer circle will sometimes try to come in fact this inner circle, but this is within you. And that is why there's a heart at the very center of that, because at the very center of that is your heart. And in your heart, you know exactly what you need to do. You know exactly what you need to do to go through the things that you're going through in life. Just listen to that and thank me later. Enjoy.